Alright, this is the highlight video from our GreatStockPicks.com live trading chat room from Tuesday. If you're wondering why there was no wrap-up video or highlight video from Monday, I had to leave after the morning hours. And the day after a 600-point drop, I wasn't too keen on taking an immediate trade, so I didn't. And by 11:30, I had to go. And literally went the first 2 hours feeling that nothing met my risk-reward parameters. Doesn't mean there weren't trades out there, but I didn't find them, so made no calls yesterday and had to leave at 11:30. I think my schedule's pretty clear between now and Thanksgiving. I shouldn't have any early days anymore. So going forward, hopefully that won't happen. Anyway, the calls from today, PTEN. As we said in a video prior to this, talked about whenever the market gets killed and you have stocks like this, we start to build a watch list. And you can see a very nice bounce in PTEN today. This was one that we had on watch. Did not make it easy. This looks like, oh man, nice bounce, and it closed at the highs of the day. But if you traded it all today, you know the Fed FOMC announcement was at 2:15 Eastern, and I'm usually flat into that. And I do not like trading post-Fed, although today I'm a little regretful having not done that. But anyway, I'll talk about the trades. Still had a fantastic day. PTEN. You can see it sold off, gapped up a little bit like the whole market did. I was actually really happy to see the SPY do the same thing, gap up and then sell off, because I had a full-on long watch scanners going today looking for a bounce, and I was thrilled that the SPY didn't just gap up and go. Gave us a nice entry point on a lot of stocks. So anyway, PTEN gapped up in this big candle here. Using a method I teach, I call this as a long 23.58, stopped 17 cents below, and it never stopped out. 23.58. This thing went to, well, I have on the member page 24.93, but didn't realize at the very end of the day it actually took out the high of the day. So I'll show you how I traded it. 23.58 was my entry. I only made 4 calls today, by the way. Let's get the arrow going. 23.58 was my entry, probably right about there on that green candle, maybe a little higher. Worst case stop, low of the day, and then scaled out into this move here. As it did this, sold some here, sold two of my lots were over $1 a share, up over 24.60. 2 of my lots, so a real nice trade in PTEN. And let me get the drawing tool off of here. Actually, I'm going to bring it back on. Right about, well, you know what, it's easier if I scoot the chart over. Remember, the Fed announcement, actually I got trail stopped the rest of it as it pushed down below this base. But the important thing to know is the Fed announcement was coming out when the market looked like, when PTEN and a lot of stocks look like this. So at this point of the day, right around 2 o'clock, I announced that I was all cash, got trail stopped out of the rest of this, and look at the craziness that ensued. Goes down, takes out the low of the day, and then as you saw, right back through the highs. This is why I don't trade post-Fed. You could make the argument, hey Mike, you should have tried to use your methods and play this as a bottom feeding play. The market's been so crazy, and we had such a good morning, I was content to sit it out. Of course, I feel a little foolish now not being able to ride some of these back up. I could just put the S&P up there, and you can see the same thing. Right about here is post or pre-Fed, and then you had the announcement. Initial spike, then rips through the lows of the day and yesterday's lows, right? And then closes at the high of the day. That's, to me, that's pretty unpredictable, although I'm sure a lot of traders had a nice ride there. I wasn't willing to gamble, not after the morning I had, and I'm not justifying that. Actually, I feel kind of silly not having traded that. But anyway, the 4 calls I made, I showed you PTEN. We got a $1.35 move on 17 cents risk. That didn't stop out. WFR was another one we had on watch. Let me take today's candle out of it. This one had just been getting killed, so when I see this, I put it on long watch. Look at this nice setup here. Gapped up and stayed in a nice range, even though I showed you earlier the SPY sold off early. This one had my attention too. I said if it breaks the high of the day, I actually had time to type this one out. WFR 533 trigger, 523 stop, I believe. So a dime risk. There's the trigger, and look at that, all the way to 591. That's a 10% move in our favor on a dime risk. Never even looked back. It was just scaling out all the way up. Never even looked back. Love that one. And then Teva, whoops, didn't type that right, was the 3rd call of the day. and called it right over this little narrow green candle here, 37.61. Again, stopped 17 cents below, and again, Teva never looked back. Didn't even come back to break even, and from 37.61 all the way to 39.75. Now that one triggered probably within 30 seconds after I called it, so a lot of people didn't get it, but some of our members did, and a huge move by the end of the day there. And again, a break-even stop held all day. And then the only other call I made was TIE over this base right here. I called it, I believe, 1390. Let me double check here. 1391 with a 1371 stop. So right over this base, and it did trigger. And you know, again, didn't do much. I sold some into the first pop over 14, as I announced to the chat room. Went to a break-even stop and got stopped out. So just made sandwich money on this one. And you can see again, you can just look at these charts and tell when the Fed announcement was. And crazy bounce in a lot of stocks. So anyway, wonderful day. You can I tell our members at the end of every trading day, I don't think I've ever said, you know what, I was perfect today. Even if I've had a huge day, I always look back and say, man, did I blow this one or did I blow that one? And that's something really you've got to learn to live with when trading. If you have nice positive results every day and you're protecting your downside, you got to try not to do that. It's hard not to when you see this happen at the end of the day, but it was a Fed day, and I knew the potential for craziness was there, and I'm certainly trying not to look back and say, oh man, I could have done much better. I had you know, my best day in a while. Still, I shouldn't brag. I hesitate to say I still haven't had a losing trade since I've been back from vacation, so that's probably going to swim up and bite me on the butt, but trying to trade safe and protecting the downside. And again, at the end of the day, a couple regrets not having ridden that last move up, but very nice morning. I'm going to stop babbling, and we'll put out a video on Wednesday night from the trades we call on Wednesday. So we'll talk to you then.